Hi, today we're going to be learning about working with formulae and using them to find output values. First is we're going to talk about what formulae are. A formula is a fact or rule expressed with mathematical symbols that can be used to calculate output values based on different input values. A formula will sometimes require more than one input value. Now, we've already dealt with some formulae before so far this year. A few of them are these ones over here. You've got the area of a square is side squared. The perimeter of a square is 4 multiplied by the length of a side. The area of a rectangle is length times breadth. The perimeter of a rectangle is 2 lengths plus 2 breadths. The area of a triangle is half base times the perpendicular height. The perimeter of the triangle we work out by adding up the 3 sides. The area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. The perimeter of a circle is pi times diameter. And to work out speed, we divide distance by time. So these are just a few of the formulae that we have used so far this year. That doesn't mean that they're the only formulae that you get. You get many other formulae. These are just ones that we have used before. Okay, so now let's have a look at our first example for today. It says calculate the area of a triangle with a base of 5 centimeters and a perpendicular height of 4 centimeters. So let's have a look at how we would answer this question. So first, we need to write down the formula that we're going to be using to answer the question. So in this question, we're being asked to work out the area of a triangle. So we need to write down the formula for the area of a triangle. That is area equals half base multiplied by the perpendicular height. So that is the formula that we're going to be using to work out this question. So the very first thing you do is you write down your formula. Then you go and you substitute your values into the formula. Okay, so in this case, I have got a base, which is 5 centimeters. So it's going to be half multiplied by 5, and I put that in brackets. Remember, when we're doing substitution, we put the values in brackets. Multiplied by the perpendicular height, which is 4 centimeters. So that also goes in brackets like that. So now I've done my second step. The first step is to write down the formula. The second step is to substitute the values into the formula. And then the third step is to simplify, to work it out. Okay, so now over here, I can use a calculator for this, but you can also just do it in your head. It's easier to work out half of an even number, so I'm going to work out half of this one and then multiply by 5. Remember, multiplication is commutative. You can move them around. So it doesn't matter which order we do it in. So I'm going to say half of 4, which is 2, multiplied by 5, and that gives me 10. So that is 10, and then once I've worked it out, so my step 4 is to, or my step 3 rather, is to work it out, and my step 4 is to answer with the proper unit of measurement. So the unit of measurement here is centimeters, so my area is going to be centimeters squared. So when you're doing a question with formulae like this, you need to write down the formula that you're going to be using. Then you need to substitute into that formula the values. Then you need to work it out, and then you need to give your answer with the correct unit of measurement. Okay. So now you're going to do a few for yourself. Here's the first one that you're going to do. It says calculate the perimeter of a rectangle with a length of 8 centimeters and a breadth of 7 centimeters. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to work on this question. Okay, so let's go through that question and see what you should have got. So first of all, you had to know what formula you're using for this one. So you're being asked to work out the perimeter of a rectangle. So you have to write down the formula to work out the perimeter of a rectangle. So that's going to be perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 breadths. Okay, so once I've got my formula, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute into the formula the values that I've been given, putting them in brackets. So I've got 2, and then my length is 8 centimeters. So I put 8 in brackets over here, plus then I've got 2 again, and the breadth is 7, so it's going to be 7 in brackets like that. So I've got 2 times 8 is 16, plus 2 times 7 is 14, and that gives me 30. Now once again, once I've worked it out, I then need to go and write my answer with the correct unit of measurement. So in this case, it's been given to me in centimeters, so the perimeter is going to be 30 centimeters. So that's what you should have got for question A. Right, now let's go on to question B. Calculate the area of a circle with a radius of 10 meters. I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this one as well. Okay, so let's go through that question. So first of all, to work out the area of a circle, you need to use the formula area equals pi r squared. Okay, so that's the formula that we're using over here. Then I'm going to go and substitute in. The radius they told me is 10 meters. So pi multiplied by 10 squared. And then I'm going to go and work that out. Now this one I can't do in my head. I need to use a calculator because whenever you're working with pi, you have to use a calculator. So it's pi times 10 squared. That gives me 314.16. And the instruction you were given was to round off to 2 decimal places where necessary. So that is why I'm rounding this off to 2 decimal places over here. So 314.16. And my unit of measurement is going to be meters squared because it is area. Okay, so that you should have got for question B. Right, let's go on to question C. In question C it says, calculate the area of a rectangle with a length of 25 millimeters and a breadth of 3 centimeters. Now be careful with this one. You have to work with the same unit of measurement in your question. So you're going to have to do some conversion first before you can do the question. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute for this one to give you a little bit of extra time for that. Okay, so let's go through that question quickly. So in this one, first of all, they didn't tell us what unit of measurement we need to give our answer in. If they don't tell you, you can choose which one you want to convert to, but you're going to have to convert either millimeters to centimeters or centimeters to millimeters. It doesn't matter which way you go because they didn't specify which one they want here. Okay, so I can either convert the 25 millimeters to centimeters and work in centimeters, or I can convert the 3 centimeters to millimeters and work in millimeters. I'm going to show you both. You could have done either one. Okay, so first of all, if I'm going to convert to centimeters, then 25 millimeters, when you convert to centimeters, you're going to divide by 10. So that's going to be the same as 2,5 centimeters. So that is what you would have converted to if you were changing to centimeters and working in centimeters. So over here, the area of a rectangle, the formula is area is length times breadth, and then I'm going to go and fill in my values. So my length is 25 millimeters, which we said is the same as 2.5 centimeters, multiplied by the breadth, which is 3 centimeters. Okay, so 2.5 times 3 is going to be 7.5 centimeters squared. So that's what you should have got if you were working in centimeters. If you chose to work in millimeters, meaning that you then converted the 3 centimeters to millimeters instead, then you're going to multiply that by 10. Instead of dividing by 10, you're going the other way. So 3 centimeters is the same as 30 millimeters. Then you would have had this. So you still have your formula, area is length times breadth, and then you're going to still substitute in, but your values that you're going to substitute in this time are going to be a little bit different. Your length is 25, and your breadth is 30. And when you work that out, you should have got 750 millimeters, that is right, millimeters squared. So these are the two options you should have had or could have had. You could have had 7.5 centimeters squared or 750 millimeters squared, depending on which unit of measurement you chose to work with. But you have to choose a unit of measurement. You can't work with them both together. Okay, so when you're working in a formula, you have to keep your units of measurement consistent. Okay, right, so that was question C. Then question D. Calculate the speed of a car in kilometers per hour that traveled 20 kilometers in 15 minutes. Now, in this question, they have told you the unit of measurement that they want you to give the answer in. They want the speed in kilometers per hour. Okay, just like in the previous question we had, you have to be working with a consistent unit of measurement. So, if the speed is kilometers per hour, that means that the distance must be in kilometers and the time must be in hours. So when you're working over here, the distance is in kilometers, that's fine, but your time is in minutes. You're going to have to convert that first to hours so that you can then work in kilometers and hours to get your speed in kilometers per hour. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that question. So first of all, you had to convert your 15 minutes to hours so that you're working in kilometers and hours. So 15 minutes, to work out how many hours it is, you're going to divide by the number of minutes that there are in 1 hour. So it's 15 divided by 60, which is 0.25 or a quarter. Now you probably would already know that 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. So you can write it as a quarter or you can write it as 0.25. I'm going to write it as 0.25 hours. Okay, so 15 minutes is 0.25 hours or a quarter of an hour. Now I'm going to go and do my formula. So my formula is speed equals distance over time. So now I'm going to fill in my value. So my distance they gave me was 20, and I'm dividing that by the time, which I just worked out was 0.25. Now this is why I'm choosing to write it as a decimal over here, because otherwise a fraction over fraction looks a little bit confusing. Okay, so it's 20 divided by 0.25. So if we work that out, 20 divided by 0.25, you get 80. So that means that the speed is 80 kilometers per hour. And that's what you should have got for question D. Right, then the last one in this section, question E. Calculate the perimeter of a square with a side of 8 centimeters. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this question. Okay, so let's go through that question quickly. Right, so we have got to work out the perimeter of a square. So the formula that we're going to be using is perimeter is 4 times the side of or the length of the side of a square. And we're going to go and substitute in 8 centimeters for the side. So that's 4 and then 8 in brackets. And we're going to work that out. So 4 times 8 is 32. So that gives us 32, and perimeter in this case is in centimeters because the measurements they gave us were in centimeters. So that's what we should have got for that question. Right, so that's how you find outputs using formulae. Now we can also use formulae to kind of go backwards. If you've got the output and you've got the other measurements, you can work out a missing measurement. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing now. So over here, here's our first example in this section. It says calculate the base of a triangle with a perpendicular height of 5 centimeters and an area of 20 centimeters squared. Okay, so for this question, just like in the previous ones we're going to start off by writing down our formula. Okay, so over here, the formula for the area of a triangle is half base multiplied by the perpendicular height. Okay, now I'm going to go and fill in the values that I know, but this time I'm not going to be filling in the base and the perpendicular height. I'm going to be filling in the area and the perpendicular height, and we're going to work out the base. So that's 20 over here equals half times the base multiplied by the perpendicular height, which is 5. Okay, so now we need to work out what b is, what the base is. So to do that, I'm going to need to get rid of everything else that is on this side around the b. There's only one term, okay, so I'm not going to be adding and subtracting. I'm going to be going straight onto my dividing and multiplying. If this is half b multiplied by 5, I want to get rid of that 5 by dividing by 5 on both sides. So I'm going to divide by 5 there, divide by 5 there. So that gives me 20 divided by 5, which is 4, equals half b. Okay, so now I'm halfway there. Now I need to get rid of the half. To cancel out the half, I'm going to divide by a half, which is the same as multiplying by 2. If I want to get rid of this, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, because if I multiply a half by 2, it cancels out the half. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 and multiply this by 2 as well. Okay, so that's going to give me 8 on this side over here, equal to b. So that means that the base of this triangle is 8, and the measurement, the unit of measurement is centimeters. So it's b, the base is 8 centimeters. Okay, so that's how you do a question like that. You first, just like we were doing in the previous ones, write down your formula, then you substitute in all the values that you know, and then you're going to solve it as an equation. And that means trying to get whatever you're solving for on its own in that equation on one side of the equation. Okay, right, so now I'm going to give you a few that you're going to do for yourself. Here's the first one you're going to do. It says calculate the length of a rectangle with an area of 72 meters squared and a breadth of 6 meters. I'm going to give you 1 minute to work on this question. Okay, so let's go through that example. So first of all, we are working with the area of a rectangle. So we're going to write down the formula for the area of a rectangle. Area is length times breadth. And then we're going to go and fill in the values that we've got. So the first one we have over there is the area is 72. And we've been told the breadth is 6. And we need to work out the length. So it's going to be L multiplied by the breadth, which is 6. Okay, so that's what you get when you substitute in. Now we need to go and we need to solve this equation. So I'm going to divide by the 6 to get rid of it on this side over here. So I'm going to divide by 6 on this side as well. And that gives me 12 equal to L. So that means that the length of this rectangle is 12 and it is 12 meters. That's what you should have got for question A. Right, then question B. We have got to calculate the distance in kilometers that a car travels in 90 minutes if they are driving at a speed of 25 meters per second. Okay, so now I'm just going to give you a hint for this. It is tricky to convert the speed to a different unit of measurement. So keep the speed in meters per second, change your time to seconds, and then once you've worked out your distance, which will then be in meters because you're working with meters per second, then convert it to kilometers to work out your distance in kilometers. Okay, so don't try and convert the speed, it's going to be more tricky. Rather convert the other things so that they match the measurements in the speed. Okay, so I need to give you 1 minute to work on this question as well. Okay, so let's go through how you should have done that question. So first of all, to work this out, like I said, I'm going to convert my time to seconds first because the speed is in meters per second. Okay, so I'm going to have 90 minutes is the same. Now to convert from minutes to seconds, I'm going to multiply by 60. So it's 90 times 60, that's 5,400 seconds. Okay, so now I'm going to use that to work out my distance. Okay, so it's going to be speed is distance over time. The distance is, the speed is 25 meters per second. Distance that we're working out and time is 5,400. Okay, so now to get the distance on its own in this equation, I'm going to take, it's being divided by 5,400, so I'm going to take that 5,400, I'm going to multiply by that on both sides. So I'm going to multiply by 5,400 here to cancel it out, and multiply by 5,400 on the left as well to keep it balanced. Okay, so 25 multiplied by 5,400 gives me 135,000 equal to the distance. Okay, so now that means that my distance is 135,000 meters because the speed that we were working with over here, the 25, was in meters per second. But we don't want our answer to be in meters, we want our answer to be in kilometers. So to change it to kilometers, I'm going to divide this by 1,000. So that's going to be 135 kilometers. So that's what you should have got for question B. Right, then question C. It says calculate the length of a side of a square if the area is 81 millimeters squared. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this question. Okay, so let's go through that example. So first of all, we're working with a square and we're working with the area of that square. So we're going to use the formula for the area of a square, which is area is side squared. Okay, now they told us the area is 81, so I'm going to fill that in over here. And we need to work out what the length of the side is. So we are working out S in this example. Okay, so to work out S, I'm going to do the opposite of squaring, and I'm going to square root to cancel out that square. So the square root of 81, you should know, is 9. So that means that S is 9. So that means that my side, or the length of the side of my square, is 9, and the measurement was in millimeters. So it's 9 millimeters. So that's what you should have got for question C. Right, question D. Calculate the time it takes a person to walk 2 kilometers if they walk at a speed of 4 kilometers per hour. I'm going to give you 1 minute to work on this question. Okay, so let's go through that example. So first of all, we're working with speed, distance, and time again. So my formula, speed is distance divided by time. Okay, now in this case, all of the units of measurement were already consistent. We've got kilometers per hour, and they didn't tell us what unit of measurement we need to use for the time, so we can just work with hours. So it will all be consistent, so I don't need to change any units of measurement in this example. So I can go straight ahead and I can start substituting in to my formula. So over here, the speed is 4, so it's 4 equals, we need to work out the time. The distance they told us is 2, so it's 2 over t, and that is equal to 4. So now we need to work out what the value of t for time is. Okay, so now if I want to get the t on its own, I don't want it to be in the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat it in the same way as I would if this was like I had in this one over here. I wanted to get rid of the 5,400, so I multiplied by 5,400. I'm going to do that same thing with the t over here. I want to get rid of the t over here so that I can end up with it over there, not in the denominator. I don't want it to be in the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by t on both sides of this equation. That gives me 4t equal to 2. Now it looks more like a normal kind of equation that I can work with. Now I'm going to go and solve for t by dividing by the 4 on this side and that side. So that's going to be t equals 2 divided by 4, which is a half, or 0.5. And that is hours. So that's half an hour, or 0.5 hours, for the time that it takes a person to walk 2 kilometers when they walk at a speed of 4 kilometers per hour. Okay, and then the last question for today, question E, calculate the breadth of a rectangle if the length is 80 centimeters and the perimeter is 270 centimeters. I'm going to give you 1 minute for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that example. So first of all, we are working over here with the perimeter of a rectangle. So the formula that we're going to be using is perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 breadths, and I'm going to go and fill in my values. So my perimeter is 270. We have to work out the breadth, and they've told us that the length is 80. So it's going to be 2 times 80 in brackets plus 2b, because we're working out b. Right, so now let's go and simplify this. So I've got 270 equals 2 times 80 is 160 plus 2b. Subtract the 160 on both sides of the equation. That gives me 110 equal to 2b, and I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, and that gives me 55 equal to b. So that means that b is 55 centimeters. So that's what we should have got for that example, and that is how we work with formulae. Now that we've learned the concepts in this lesson, it's important to practice, practice, practice. If you haven't already got the worksheet that goes with this video, you can find it by clicking on the link in the description below. The worksheet comes with an extra exercise full of questions for you to work on to master the concepts covered in this lesson. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button so that others can benefit from it too. Also, be sure to subscribe so that you can easily find my other lessons, and hit the bell so that you will get notified about lessons as I upload them.